Cars are now extremely fancy.
M2s have Amazon Alexa built in. Teslas have legitimate video games to pass the time while you're charging up your batteries, okay? And even 911s continue to get rid of the traditional 6-speed
For their super fancy, way faster, way better PDK system.
Okay, even though it's better, it just still makes me sad. Sometimes we want a car that doesn't have all that technology, doesn't have all that stuff. A car that just feels, well, a little bit like a piece of metal, some wheels, and a big chunk of metal between you and a potential tree that you may meet. The days of raw, visceral driving experiences are pretty few and now far between, which is leaving people like you and people like me wondering if there's any good bargain cars out there that tell you their already fragile ego is even more in check after you drive this car. And boy, is there a car that'll do just that. I'm Alex, Alex@FI on Instagram, and today we're going to be talking about a car that looks like it had a toupee a couple 2-3 years. A car that embodied the essence of more power, more displacement, baby. A car that has caused more grown men with beards to pucker like a baby with lemon juice, okay? A car that is by far the car with angry eyebrows, wide hips, and just a booty that just doesn't quit. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be talking about you wanting to own a Dodge Viper. And if you're just jumping into a Fitment Industries video, hola, ¿cómo estás? Welcome.
The finger clacker didn't work that time.
Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep making banging videos like this. And if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com, where we literally have everything from a banging gallery to all the wheels your little heart could possibly desire, even for your Dodge Viper or otherwise, even though it has a bunky bolt pattern. This is 2 bunky bolt patterns we've talked about now. We appreciate you all though, we love you, and we hope you're staying safe. The Dodge Viper has an interesting history that starts back to a man named Bob Lutz, who has quite the track record of, how would you say it? Take the names and kick all the okay? Bob was the president of operations in 1988 of Chrysler and wanted to challenge the idea to Chrysler of creating their own variant of the then Shelby Cobra, to which Tom Gale, the man whose team and himself was probably responsible for saving Chrysler out of situations and bankruptcy, at least twice said, well, yeah, bud. I mean, we can probably make some magic happen. And it actually only took a few months for the Viper to be presented as a claim model and then eventually a metal body variant to the powers that be at Chrysler. Now, let me tell you real quick, Tom Gale and Bob Lutz were probably one of the largest duos in the automotive industry at the time. Now, these guys were legends in their own right. Tom Gale designed the Lamborghini Diablo, the Prowler, and the Phaeton. Bob Lutz was a champion at production and operations, and because of those exact skills, the Dodge Viper was born into one of the shortest time frames from start to actual production model out there, especially in recent history. Now, the original motor was designed and assisted by Lamborghini technicians because Chrysler owned them back then. Truck components throughout Chrysler to keep their costs down into the car, and ultimately it became a car that really just sort of, it kind of like worked itself out. Like you just kind of, you throw some brake cleaner on there, you stuff it in, and next thing you know, you got yourself some new bushings, right? It was a monster, and with with the CEO's permission, they decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't just weld a 6-cylinder block to a 4-cylinder. Maybe we should just make a 10-cylinder. It came out of the equivalent budget. I mean, the car came out of an equivalent budget of a YouTube fan film and people loved it. Lakota essentially said, hey, have this truck motor and go make it do something better. And they're like, okay, sounds good. People say it's a truck engine in a Viper, and the story is half true, just like most articles on Facebook. Chrysler gave Lamborghini their V10 block, and that was going to be used for their heavy-duty Ram at the time. And Lamborghini then used it as a foundation point to create the aluminum block variant of the design that would ultimately be in the first generation Viper. By the end of it all, they shared very few similarities, but it's way more fun to say that the Viper has a truck engine because it kind of sort of does. You want door handles? What are you, normal? Windows? Here's some Ziploc bags.
With zippers.
That's what you get for windows. No roof for you. Just a toupee that barely stays on at all times because it wasn't really made that fantastically. It just kind of sits on top and you pray it doesn't get kicked away. Want to get comfortable? Well, you, says Dodge, because this car wasn't built for that. It was built for extreme driving. It was literally the opposite of what everybody was really looking towards in the 90s. It's built for extreme driving and it didn't really care about you. Even the gas pedal, clutch, and brake are off-centered to make space for the transmission and the massive motor, and even with every reason that this car should not be well received, especially by people that were like trying to enjoy driving. At the same time that JDM was reining in with more technology than NASA had at the time, people said, give me that. And that's exactly what they did. It did nothing but further people wanting the Dodge Viper. 400 horsepower, no systems, no help, no guiding hand. If you slipped up, the car made you pay for it, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. It resembled everything the previous Cobra was all about, which was exactly what the company wanted. Carroll Shelby would then assist Dodge in producing the marketing necessary to make the car actually succeed. And it worked. Side exhaust burnt your leg hair off? Well, that's too damn bad, bud. The car was pretty much everywhere. It was in NASCAR because it was supposed to be. I mean, it was in stuff. Well, it wasn't really a NASCAR. It was more of a pace car, but it was a pace car because of JD. It was a whole other story. As Dodge Viper continued to be released year over year, people continued to fall in love with the car's raw experience that just wasn't compared to much in the market at the time. Even as they started to add weird things like windows and different sorts of controls, people kept coming back for more and more. Newer trims would be introduced with more color options, okay? It was huge, color options. Stripes, which are a must, and more novelties like the GTS that had more stuff on it. Dodge Viper, blue, white stripes, 11 out of 10. I remember when even I had a remote blue Dodge Viper. I must have been like 8 or 9, but it didn't have the blue stripes, which was bull, okay? So then I went to my dad's work and I stole some liquid white out to paint the stripes on my Viper RC car. It was really messy. I tried to use tape, it didn't really work, but I still have the RC car. I'm not lying. Anyway, the Viper continued to see success through racing, and I mean a lot of racing. In 1998, the 24-hour Lemon took first and second. Next year, they had 6 Vipers, and 6 Vipers took the top 6 spots. 24 hours of Daytona, 12 hours of Sebring, everything. Dodge was crushing with this platform. Viper would start doing the good old trim upsell options as it started to see more and more success with ACRs, limited edition models, and everything else they could possibly do to capitalize on the car's success. And they were still a good chunk ahead of the competition. With a 12-second quarter mile and the engine sizes going from an 8-liter to an 8.3 liter, the car was excessive, to say the least. It was just a lot. But this is America, brother.
We drive trucks, we drink beer, we want no small PP energy in here.
Humbleness, what is that, said Dodge, and that's why they just kept making everything
Bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
and faster. First generations from 91 to 95 was rough, pretty much around every single edge you could find, but it was fun, and you can pick them up for a banging deal. Second generation from 96 to 2002 had more amenities, but really didn't promote them that much. It got less weird on the top part of it, and it had a double bubble roof, which was for helmets, and that's kind of where the bubble trouble joke came from. And it decimated on the racetrack. The second gens are still fantastic bargain buys, and they challenge even the most experienced racer. Third generation was from 2003 to 2007 and featured more amenities, okay, more trims, and all that good stuff, but was really starting to fade a little bit with the vehicle model. It started to have competition come up behind it, which was starting to recognize that there could be more than just a Dodge Viper to buy. And finally, the fourth generation from 2008 to 2010 had all the goodies, but Viper would slowly discontinue the V10 monster to work on its new fifth generation that was going to be relaunched in 2013. Pennzoil and their Dodge Viper commercials, by the way, damn, they're good. The car would be reintroduced in 2013 with 640 horsepower and eventually 645 horsepower, and would be taken about the track to decimate just about as much as possible and try its damnedest to show the world that it was still capable. But it didn't really do enough. More talk about this Dodge. The first generation was a supercar stomper. Okay, a Corvette crusher, a Lamborghini leveler. But about 5 years ago, it was only slightly better than its competitors here in the States, and it was a couple 2-3 nickels more. And when I say a couple, I mean a lot. So why has it not gotten as popular anymore? We're not here to talk about the history of the car. You want that, go watch the documentary. There's like 1,000. I'm pretty sure the next movie that's like Ford versus Ferrari is gonna be about the Dodge Viper, because there is so much history there. We are here to talk about you wanting to own one of these bad boys. So you want a Dodge Viper. Well, set down your Red Bull and grab your most updated life insurance policy because we're about to talk about what it's like to own one of these things. If you want to own a Dodge Viper, here are some things that you must know. First, nearly every generation Viper besides the new ones will consistently and inevitably try to kill you if you think you're going to play around with it. They just want to hurt you, okay? They're the final boss car for many people. The first generations are a little funky to look at, but they are a ton of fun to drive as long as you enjoy not being comfortable, and you need to be a good driver. They are a project car that's actually done, it just doesn't feel like it. And they aren't too expensive to pick up anymore, but that doesn't mean that you should just go snag one. They really are meant for people that are okay with just being this close to breaking traction. Now, in terms of initial reliability, most generations aren't bad at all. They have a recall or two out there, but their biggest issues lie around their capability to stay cool. But the car has a bunch of active forums and cheap parts, and because it's still just a big old Dodge motor, working on them is relatively simple. You can pretty much take a Dodge Viper anywhere and they will be able to work on them, except probably the 5th generation. You can snag some of the early gens for under $30,000, at least the old ones, but aftermarket wheels, tires, and suspension can get a little tough because it is an interesting body. Mostly tires and wheels. You'll see lots of people go into 3-piece stuff solely because the bolt pattern is a 6 lug by 114.3. It's a truck bolt pattern. Might as well just slap some Archons on it. It's definitely not a wheel for cars. Tires get more difficult to source with how wide these cars can get, especially as you start to jump into the 3rd generation body. Now you can snag some BC coilovers for your Dodge Viper if that's your cup of tea and modify it with some intake exhaust, and that's pretty much about all you'll need. There's just a little bit more money in the wheels and tires because Dodge put some big beefy boys on that thing. The 1st generation isn't too common for new ownership. It's mostly all 2nd through 4th generation right now, and people are starting to really they're starting to pop up. They're starting to pop up for a pretty good price, and people are trying to buy them because they want the experience. But it's not a car that anyone should just pick up. It'll Kamehame your ass. It will spirit bomb smite you, okay? If you aren't careful and you're just running around on cold tires and you try to jump on the highway trying to be cool because you picked up a little date for a little Thursday night Applebee's, okay? It's not, you gotta be careful, okay? Typical ownership is pretty standard, and you'll get plenty of looks and conversations at the gas station on why your 1st gen has a little French hat on. I don't know what they call them because I forgot. Art class, okay? But they aren't forgiving, but they are fun. Dodge Vipers are a beast to drive. They're a blast. They got in less favorable positions as generation after generation went on due to the Corvette finally starting to step up with its higher performance models, especially when the 4th generation Viper was in its prime. And between that and Dodge introducing their own powerhouses of the Hellcat at a lower price, which gave people more horsepower, more space, and even more ludicrousness, the car really didn't have a home as much anymore. Now, Dodge will blame it on the side impact, little airbags and stuff like that, but it's a little bit of a combination of everything. And nevertheless, it is still kind of sad to see the Viper has prematurely ended, but I'm sure it's gonna come back because Dodge has a ton of money. But if you want a car that is big, long, scary, loud, domestic, and gets you feeling funky in all sorts of ways that'll make your insurance cry, buy a Viper. Just be prepared to download a weather app and start that piggy bank for tires, because when it is nice out and you do manage to get it out of the garage, it will constantly beg you to drive it hard, and you will, because that's what it deserves. So what do you think about the Dodge Viper? Let us know, and of course, if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com, and if you could, subscribe so we can keep making banging videos like this. And if you do have a Dodge Viper on aftermarket wheels, please add it to our gallery, fitmentindustries.com/ad, because we have like 6. That'd be super cool. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. We will see you later. Peace.